Voila. Voila. Hi, Uncle Scooby here. Today we're going to talk about knots. Now, this is not the Boy Scouts. There's no merit badges. I'm not going to teach you a zillion useless knots. I'm going to teach you 2 knots that everyone needs to know. The main problem I have with the way most people teach knot tying is they teach a zillion knots, and the problem is people learn them and can do them, but they never know which knot to use for which purpose, so they end up doing just a zillion granny knots for everything, like this. You know, this works. You can do 10 granny knots. You can get by living your entire life tying knots like this. The problem is, first of all, you waste incredible amounts of time tying all these knots. And it's not the best thing for the job either. The problem with doing a lot of granny knots, if you put a lot of weight on this, it's going to get so tight that you're never going to get this off unless you cut it. And rope is expensive. You don't want to be doing that. So I'm going to show you the first knot here. I call this the hangy thingy knot. Technical term, hangy thingy. The reason is it's used for hanging things. For hanging a punching bag, for hanging a tire from a tree, for hanging whatever you need. In this case, I have a very expensive engine that I need to hang from this winch and take over and mount on the front of the airplane over there. Now, you might say, well, why don't you use like one of these fancy ratchet buckle things? You know, that's all great, but see this right here? This is stitching that holds this together. So I do not want to risk my very expensive engine on stitching done by child labor in some faraway country. I want to trust myself for this. So I'm not going to use a ratchet. I'm going to use plain old strong rope. Now, make sure you're getting good rope. There's really cheap stuff that you don't want to use. And what I'm going to do in this case, I'm actually going to, 1 rope would be plenty for this engine. This is only like 120 pounds. But I'm going to do 3 ropes, because in case one breaks, the other 2 will catch it. I'm not worried about my knots. I'm worried about the rope breaking. So let me show you how to do the hangy thingy knot. Now, you might recognize this from the Boy Scouts as the bow line, but that's a stupid name because it doesn't describe what it does. This is used for hanging things. Okay, let's tie the hangy thingy knot. This is from the hoist, this rope. So I'm going to make a loop like that. Notice this is on top here. Now, this is the end that's wrapped around the engine block. It's going to come up through this hole, and then it's going to go behind this rope here, that's the supporting rope, and back down through the hole. That's going to lock that rope in place. That's all there is to it. That's the hangy thingy knot. Right there. Incredibly strong, and it's easy to undo when the time comes. Now let's lift this engine. For those of you that haven't played with hydraulics before, this is the beauty of hydraulics. I am lifting this engine and hardly exerting any effort at all. Why? Because of leverage. If you'll notice, each time here I'm making this go about a foot. This only goes about a 1/4 inch up each time this moves a foot. That is leverage, incredible leverage. And the way it works, so there's a little piston right here that's pumping fluid into a bigger piston here. The ratio of the areas determines the leverage. So it's just an incredibly simple way to get leverage. Okay, so that's the first and most important knot, the hangy thingy knot. This next knot is really important for young people because young people always seem to be moving or helping their friends move. This knot is called the load cincher knot. Now, most people when they move, they borrow a friend's pickup or they get a U-Haul. You've got to secure the load. And this knot is perfect for that. Now, you can get those ratcheting straps, but they're expensive and they're not very versatile. A piece of rope is much better. And the advantage of this load cincher knot is that a lot of times you'll drive for 5 miles and just the bouncing around makes the load settle, and then you have to retighten the knot. This knot is really easy to retighten. You can do it in like 5 seconds. So let me show you how to tie this load cincher knot. So I need to secure this box here so it doesn't slide around when I'm driving. So I need a knot that's going to make this really, really tight and something that's easy to tighten should it become slack. So let me show you how to tie this knot. So grab the rope, make one twist, make another, and then pull the rope through the loop. This is going to give us something to pull on with the other end and get some leverage. So now we're going to take the loose end of the rope, put it through the loop there, and now we're going to cinch the load tight. So pull it tight, got it tight. Now hold it with your fingers so it doesn't slip. And we're just going to do 2 half hitches. And the beauty of this is if the load gets loose, it's really easy to undo these 2 half hitches and make it tighter and put them back. That's the beauty of this knot. So there you have it. 2 knots that are easy to learn that you can use the rest of your life. If you only learn 2 knots, these are the ones, the hangy thing knot and the movers knot. Now, tying knots is actually fun. If you want to practice, get yourself a book like this, like a Klutz book of knots. They have a bunch and they have pictures that show you how to do it. I mean, okay, I'm a knot geek, but I like this stuff. So if you don't like it, just learn the 2 I showed you. If you find it fun, get a book and practice. But it's important to know which knots to use for which purpose, which is why I have not called the 2 knots I showed you by their real name, because the real names are stupid. It's the hangy thing knot and the movers knot. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching Uncle Scooby. Bis nächste Mal. Auf Wiedersehen.